Are you anxious all the time? You wake up in the middle of the night and worry about things. Maybe you're going through a particularly rough time in your life, and so you're hypersensitive. I've never been surprised as a clinician that people were anxious. Maybe you're physiologically ill and less resilient than you should be. Maybe you're not eating enough. One thing I would recommend to begin with is to make sure that you just try this. I know it's surprising advice. Try to eat a big breakfast for like 2 weeks. See what happens. See if that drives the worry down. Now, then the next thing I would ask, when does it happen? Like, are these dreams? Are these thoughts before you go to bed? Do you wake up in the middle of the night with these visions running through your head? One of the things you can do that's counterproductive is take one of those fantasies that's torturing you and that you're suppressing, because you will be suppressing it, and let it play itself out. You see, what's happening is that the parts of your mind, the parts of your brain, the parts of your psyche that are alarm systems, so that's the anxiety systems, they're trying to think something through, and they're using fantasy to think it through. This is actually a form of thought that's torturing you, because it's reasonable for the parts of your brain that are on the outlook for negative occurrences to think, well, what if? That's what thinking is. And sometimes you think positively, what if? And sometimes you think negatively. And well, you're in all likelihood doing everything you can to escape from these thoughts when they make themselves manifest. But all that does is make the systems that are producing those thoughts even more likely to produce them, because now they think, the alarm system thinks, oh, well, here's a danger, and I'm trying to present the active agent, the person who I inhabit, with evidence of this potential threat, as a good alarm system should. And it turns out that they're so afraid of the message that I'm delivering that they won't even listen to it. Therefore, the situation must be much more dire than I supposed. I'm going to have to amplify and increase the emotion of my statement and the repetitiveness of the thought. And so that's just not helpful at all. Because what you've done is you've taken a worry and you've now recategorized it as a worry that's so terrible that you won't even think about it. And so now the alarm systems think that you're being chased by he who can't be named. That's a good way of thinking about it, and a good allusion to something popular in culture. And so they're just going to be screaming nonstop. So what do you have to do? There's a couple of things you could do. You could start by bringing to mind those fantasies. Sit down somewhere, take some deep breaths, try to calm yourself down a little bit, and let those thoughts come forward. You know what they are. And then watch them like you're watching a movie. Even if it's a horror movie, watch them. Let the whole fantasy play out and see what comes out at the end. It's going to be frightening to do this. Even if the vision is quite horrific, right? The entire thought is quite horrific. You have now indicated to your anxiety systems that you have enough courage to face the worrisome event. And just that alone should be helpful. Now, you may have to do this multiple times, and you might have to do it with all the thoughts. You'll know that you've done it enough when doing it starts to become mundane, when all the emotion goes out of it. And if you're particularly frightened, that might take a long time. Now, the other thing that you might really consider, and this is something you can do as an adjunct, is you should think about what you would do if this would happen. It's a hell of a thing to bear that kind of responsibility. It takes a person out of the ordinary. It takes them out of themselves. And, you know, as if it happened in real life, and to take even the worst case situation. And then the question is, what would you do and what should you do? And the answer is, you don't know. You think that that would be unbearable and the end of the world. It's not surprising that you think that, but it's not helpful. You know, because people have to live through catastrophe. It's incumbent upon you to develop the psychological strength to be able to tolerate what it is that you're anxiety alarm systems are tormenting you with. And you might think, well, that's impossible, but it's not impossible, because people live through catastrophe. And they do that in large part by discovering that there are darker and stronger forces within them than they might be willing to appreciate. And that one of the consequences of integrating those forces is that you have the strength and the cruelty, in some strange sense, to endure, to dare continue to live, even if the unthinkable happens. And it's no simple matter to think of that as a moral step forward, but people are called upon to be strong, and strong in the face of the worst catastrophe. Your psyche is tormenting you with precisely that. It won't let you go. It'll shake you like a dog shakes a rat. It won't let you go until you deal with it. You deal with mortality. You have the freedom to choose which of the two difficult paths you're going to choose, and the one that involves voluntary confrontation with what tortures and torments you. It's rough, man, but I'll tell you, it's a lot better than living in constant worry. That's the pathway that's going to lead back to the stability that you need. You don't want to bite off more than you can chew, but it doesn't mean that you can't wrestle with part of reality, some part that's small enough so that you have a good shot at victory. And then you attain victory over some small part of the chaos. And you find within you what would allow you to withstand that, damaged or not, to withstand that. You do that by letting yourself go where your thoughts take you, even though you don't want to.